The Mount Horeb Vikings defeat the Monona Silver Eagles. We'll discover a local boxing gym that's reaching out to women. And Coach Smith of the Madison Memorial Spartans brings us the details on their journey to the playoffs. All that and much more. Keep watching. Your local sports news starts now. Thanks for joining us for the sports news. I'm Jessa Jeremiah, and here are your local headlines. A Special Olympics athlete will be competing in the 2016 Winter Games to be held in Aspen. Dana Schiltz of Neillsville, Wisconsin, was invited back to compete in the unified snowboarding competition after earlier this year the event hosted Special Olympics athletes. Solidifying her chances of an invite to the 2016 event, Dana won a silver medal in the 2015 Winter X Games. Schiltz will be paired up with another X Games athlete competing in a dual slalom race. Schiltz was one of 10 competitors invited to the Games. The Monona Silver Eagles were defeated by Mount Horeb after the Vikings defense led them to victory. Their Level 2 playoff game was held in Monona Grove Friday night as the top-seeded Silver Eagles lost 34-28 to the fourth-seeded Mount Horeb. The Silver Eagles were up in the first quarter with a score of 14-7. However, that was the last time the Silver Eagles were ahead before the Vikings came through for the win. The Vikings' next game will be November 6th versus Reedsburg. Wisconsin Sports Network has announced that their 6th annual high school football award recipients will be chosen soon. WSN, coaches, and other sources team up to present deserving senior student athletes awards in one of 8 positions. The WSN awards are named after players with positive examples of Wisconsin football, including defensive back Jim Leonard of Flambeau High School, linebacker John Anderson of Waukesha South, and offensive line Joe Thomas of Brookfield. Badger Women's Soccer Conference co-champions earned some prestigious recognition recently. The winners of the 2015 Big Ten Women's Soccer were announced and includes Paula Wilkins, Rose Lavelle, and Victoria Lickett, among many others. Wilkins is the only Wisconsin women's soccer coach to be awarded Coach of the Year, and a full list of award recipients can be found on big10.org. University of Wisconsin men's basketball tryouts had an excellent turnout of hopeful students looking to become student athletes. 40 students turned out last Wednesday to try their skills during the open tryouts for men's basketball. The tryouts were held at the Nicholas Johnson Pavilion Court and run by Wisconsin assistants Greg Gard, Lamont Paris, and Gary Close. If you'd like additional information on these headlines, please reference the media sources you see listed on your screen. Also, you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Thanks so much for watching the sports news, brought to you in part by the Red Zone Bar in downtown Madison. For sports, music, and the best pub grub in town, visit the Red Zone. When we return, we are checking in with Evansville High School. Your Blue Devils report is next, so stick around. Welcome back to the Sports News. I'm Jessa Jeremiah, joined now by Michael Maves for your Evansville High School, your Blue Devils report. Michael is the offensive coordinator and also assistant coach for the group. Really, let's talk a little bit to you, Coach Maves. So glad to have you.
Thanks for having me, Jessa.
So we have a lot to get to. I'm going to kind of dive right in. I want to start by having you give us kind of a season recap. You've got undefeated conference champions. What a successful season. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we had a fantastic senior class. I couldn't be happier with them. We were undefeated in the preseason, 2-0, and then we went to the regular season, 6 games, and we ran the table there to bring us to 8-0. Won our first, actually it'd be 9-0, then we won our first playoff game against Milwaukee. Brought us to 10-0, and then we ran into the big dog, Catholic Memorial, and they ended our season this last Friday.
So impressive. What a great season. And I understand that Evansville for the first time had offensive and defensive players and actually linemen of the year. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the first time that I can ever remember that happening in the Rock Valley North Conference, or the Rock Valley at all. We had the player of the year on the offensive side of the ball, which was Nathan Redders, who ran for over 1,000 yards. We had Jordan Meyer, a stud linebacker, and who's going to be a stud wrestler, defensive player of the year. And then two-time offensive lineman of the year, Austin Rupiper, who's going to play on Saturday somewhere. He is a stud. And actually, we had the coach of the year with Coach Grovestein, so really, we had 4, I guess.
Wow, that's incredible. So congrats to those players. Lots of hard work, I'm sure, went into the player of the year there. And congrats to you on that as well.
Thank you.
And I know you have a lot to say on this next topic, but let's give us a little bit of your thoughts on the playoff loss to Waukesha Catholic Memorial. I know that was a tough one.
That was a tough one. Going into there's a lot of expectations going in that second round game, but then when you actually see Catholic Memorial and you play at their place, they are a Division I football team. I know they play in Division III, but that is a Division I team that plays in a Division I conference, it's a private school in a huge area they draw from. Now they run into a small public school like us that, we get what we get. But we played hard, and I'm proud of the boys, but that's a tough team. They're gonna do very well.
Yeah, absolutely. A tough matchup for a lot of folks. And let's talk a little bit moving forward about your predictions for for Division III as a whole.
Well, I'm a public school guy, and I'm rooting for the public schools. I'm hoping Coascom can knock off Catholic Memorial, but that's going to be a tough game. I'm anticipating Catholic Memorial possibly playing another private school on the other side of the bracket in the state championship. I coached in the Middle Border Conference, so I'm pulling for New Richmond, but we'll see. It'll be a great championship.
Well, thanks so much, Coach Maves, for your input today. Much appreciated.
You bet.
Up now is your Madison Memorial Spartans Report. Coach Adam Smith is joining us now. Coach Smith, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having us again.
Absolutely. What a successful season you have had. So much effort has been put in. If you could, I know it's probably almost impossible, if you could possibly sum up the season in a sentence or two, what would you say?
Well, I think this season was a success. Ultimately, we didn't get to where we wanted, to be at the top of the mountain, planting that flag, but we were able to solidify our foundation and make it bigger, and I think we have a bright future ahead of us and being able to build on top of that foundation that our seniors have laid.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. I'm excited to see what next year holds, and let's talk a little bit about your journey to the playoffs. Tell us what it was that brought you that far, a couple of key things.
Well, I think it was just ultimately believing in what we were doing, having our players buy in, having our community buy in, and Spartan Nation basically, and got some key people back in week 3 and just kept on grinding and coming together, our staff coming together and really putting forth the effort to be better, and our kids putting forth great effort of wanting to learn and wanting to be better, and once we just got that first win, we got a taste of it and got on a roll and liked it ever since. So those were key things, and we have a great coaching staff, and we had great kids and a great community supporting us, and that's really what it takes to get to the top of the mountain.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously a team effort all around by the team, by the staff, the community. It was just a full-on effort, and you guys were very impressive to talk to out on the field this season. Let's talk about, a couple of standout players, in particular some of your last year Spartans. Anybody come to mind?
Well, absolutely, we have a ton, but Emmett Enright, our senior quarterback, who's up for the Dave Craig Quarterback of the Year award. He was named unanimous all-conference, all area, and is going to be up for all-state, which is fantastic. Jake Ferguson, the only Big 8 conference player to be first team all-conference on the offense and defensive side, and of course is all-area and up for all-state as well. Defensively, Will Jessup was 4th in the state in interceptions and number 1 over D1 schools, and did a great job coming back from his sophomore season and doing a great job. And some other key players were, Hunter Peters, 2nd in the conference in interceptions. Also, did a great job for receiving, complimenting Jake Ferguson on the other side, and was really a danger to go deep and be an explosive player for us. And our offensive line did great, anchored by John Adams, and our running backs Terrell Goodwin and Jason Wea. So all in all, we did a really great job, and the kids had a fun time, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, a long list of great players there. And really quick, we got to go, but talk to me, what's the number one thing you're looking forward to improving for next year?
I think it's our overall toughness. I think we saw that against the Cardinal, that they're a lot more physical than we were, and it showed. And I think that's coming in just without really having put a lot of thought to that, but that's the first thing that comes to mind is trying to get tougher.
Well, we look forward to next season. Coach Smith, congrats on all your success. That's your Madison Memorial Spartans Report, and we're going to be right back with more sports news, so stick around. Our Ford's Gym Boxing Report starts now. James McIntyre, promoter, coach, and fighter, is joined by Chedia Sokin. And James, Chedia, both of you, we're so glad to have you today. Thanks so much.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. So James, we've talked to you about Ford's Gym before. Introduce us a little bit to Chedia, your guest.
Okay, this is Chedia Sokin. Of course, this is actually my sister, my baby sister, love her. And I'm happy that you pronounced the name correctly. We usually call it Terry, and because nobody else can say Chedia. But today we're just going to hang out and let you handle it.
So, Chedia, being a woman in particular in this arena, in boxing, how did you get started? What attracted you to this?
Well, what really attracted me to it was seeing my brother box live, and it was a very intense moment, but it just kind of really got me into, just getting into it.
Seeing somebody you love kind of get in there and doing a great job and getting so much out of it, I'm sure is very motivating. Let's talk a little bit about how many fights you have under your belt, and how do you feel like you can be successful in the sport going forward?
I had 3 bouts. Within the 3 bouts, I had 2 wins, 1 loss. And I feel you can be really successful in the boxing, being that it's an individual sport, and you also learn a lot from it, like building your confidence, your self-esteem, and it just helps with your daily life, family, work, and everything else.
I love how you mentioned confidence. So true. You're getting out there and doing something really unique outside of your family, but you're also in school. You work a full-time job, and you mentioned family. You've got 2 kids and you're boxing. How do you fit this all in?
Well, I would like to say that my fiance helps me a lot with our kids. We're both really content. We keep up with the kids a lot, but he does help me a whole lot with that. But with boxing, school, and work, I work long hours as a nail tech, and I take an hour and 15 minutes to go work out and come back to work. So that's something I work around.
I love that. You make time for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with school, I do that online, so it works around my schedule.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, congrats to you. Real quick before we go, your final goal as it pertains to boxing, what is it?
Trying to get more fights. And see how far I can get with it.
Excellent. Well, so glad to have you. That's it for your Ford's Gym Boxing Report. We're going to be back with more sports news after the break. Welcome back to the Sports News. I'm Jessa Jeremiah, joined now by Peter Henderson and Caleb Vosters for your Wisconsin Whalers Report. Peter and Caleb, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So excited to talk to you a little bit today. I don't know a whole lot about Wisconsin Whalers, but I'm so excited to learn more. Tell folks at home, if they're not familiar, where does your team play out of? And talk to us a little bit about your coach.
We play at Oregon Ice Arena in Oregon, Wisconsin. And our coach, Tom McDermott, he's been around the game for a long time, and he's had a lot of coaching experience and really knows everything to do with hockey and how to be a good role model for us players.
Absolutely. So that's obviously what you're wanting out of your leader. And tell me a little bit about junior hockey now.
Junior hockey, well, hockey's different than any other sport. after high school, instead of going straight to college, players go play juniors and then go to college. It's like a stepping stone in between.
Okay, perfect. And now you're both players, so talk to me about what positions you both play and kind of how you got started.
I'm a forward. I've played for 17 years, and my father played in college, and he was a forward as well, so kind of just grew up in the family and just stuck it out as a forward.
There you go. It's in the family line.
Yep.
I'm a defenseman, and I started playing hockey because basketball was too soft, and I got in trouble.
I love that answer. That's great. And you're here in Wisconsin. What a perfect fit. Where do most of the players come from? Now, is this group gathering from?
I'm from Illinois, but we have a lot of players from around Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. We have a few. We have one kid from Europe. He's from Sweden, our goalie. But most of them are from the Midwest. We get a couple East Coast players and a few Europeans as well.
Absolutely. Hockey at its best here in the
Yep.
Midwest. Before we go, tell us about your upcoming games. And for folks who are interested in getting involved in future games, where do they go?
Well, this Friday we play at 7:30 at Oregon Ice Arena, and I believe Saturday's at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And if you want to find out future games, you can just go to www.wisconsinwhalers.com. You can find any game time there.
All right, so a couple games coming up this weekend. Go to wisconsinwhalers.com to find out more about future games. Peter and Caleb, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome back to the Sports News. We are joined now by Luke Wainwright, the head boys basketball coach for the Stoughton Vikings. This is your Stoughton Vikings report. Luke, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm very excited to talk to you about the upcoming season. What are you most excited about in regards to the upcoming season, Coach?
I think just getting on the floor with the players on a day-to-day basis and implementing some of the new standards and expectations for the program, getting the kids to kind of buy into what it is we're trying to accomplish on and off the floor, improving their abilities as athletes as well as students and community members.
It's so exciting getting to start a new season and kind of come in with a clean slate. Talk to me a little bit about your expectations going in.
The expectations really are just to come into practice every single day with a great attitude and a great work ethic, and just taking it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Really making sure that our kids understand that in order to get to the end goal at the end of the season, it really takes one day at a time and putting in that work and effort every day in order to accomplish a goal.
And talk to us a little bit about your background and how that's led you to becoming head coach at Stoughton.
Sure. Well, I was an athlete at Verona Area High School, played football, basketball, baseball, and golf, and that transitioned pretty seamlessly into being a coach or wanting to be a coach. I spent 8 years at the University of Wisconsin-Madison working for Bo Ryan and the men's basketball program there.
Wow.
And I just felt like after my administrative role at Wisconsin, it was time to move on and start searching for a program on my own.
And let's kind of expand on that, some of your previous experiences and influences. Who really influenced you along the way to want to take on such a challenge of being a coach?
My dad and my grandpa were very influential in the person that I am today. That's just kind of a day-to-day person, some of the habits and lessons that they taught me, and that translates very easily into the coaching profession. From a basketball standpoint, working for Coach Ryan for 8 years was very influential. One of the things that I really took from him was the ability that you have as a coach to teach life lessons through the game of basketball.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about some of your philosophy being a teacher of the game based on some of those influencers.
Yeah, Coach Ryan was a teacher prior to being a coach, and I took a lot of my philosophy on that from him. You know, using the film room as a teaching tool, being a teacher on the court, going to the whiteboard and make sure that your communication is very clear with the players and that they understand what the expectations are. And if you do that, then I think you allow them to play kind of free and loose as an athlete, which I think is extremely important.
Well, absolutely excellent. Thank you so much for bringing that to the table. We wish you the best of luck starting your season, and best of luck to the Vikings over in Stoughton. Thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Joining us now for our Middleton High School Cardinal Report is boys volleyball head coach Ben White. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
So let's go ahead and dive in. We have a lot to talk to you about. Give us a little information on how your season has gone so far this year.
The season's gone well. We are, I think, 23-10 on the year. We've battled a lot of injuries. One of the things that happened right away is one of our main players, Jordan Fuchs, injured his back in the offseason, so he's been out for the year. So we, going into the season, we're going to count on him a lot, but we've had some seniors step up and take over the team, and we've had a successful season so far, and hoping it continues in the postseason.
Well, it sounds good, and let's talk a little bit more about those injuries and how the team has sort of dealt with that throughout the year. How have they responded there?
You know, it's been great. It's one of those things that as a team it's tough because you don't really get into a rhythm. Every match we've basically had a different lineup, so a lot of guys are getting a lot of good experience in different positions. And it's one of the things I told the guys the other day. I've coached now for 15 years, and this is probably the most players I had played different positions, and they've really done a nice job. And you know, a lot of it can be attributed to the seniors who have played for me for a number of years and really stepping up and being the leaders to our sophomores that are also contributing on the varsity team.
Yeah, talk about that. So they've done a good job of moving from different positions, and you mentioned the seniors. Tell us a little bit about the leadership.
Sure. We have tri-captains, Kevin McMahon, Blake Sprecher, and Jacob Ross. And those three are three great guys that do everything, and they complement each other really well. Kevin's our outside hitter. He leads us in about 270 kills on the year, which is, you know, fourth most all time I think we've had since I've been head coach. And he's just really developing into a good all-around player that can take his game to the next level. Blake Sprecher is a 6'8" senior, and he's a force at the net. You can't really teach 6'8". So he's an intimidating presence at the net, and he does a nice job for us. And then Jacob Ross is just kind of this glue type player that keeps everybody together, but also is very, very competitive and pushes the guys. So there's a nice balance between the three of them.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a well-rounded group of leaders on your team. And before we go, let's discuss postseason a little bit. What does the postseason road look like for your team?
The postseason, we have a sectional that's probably not considered one of the tougher in the state. There's no top 10 teams in state, so we're the #1 seed in our sectional. We know we have to go through a conference opponent in Beloit, as well as one of the top teams in the Classic 8 out of the Milwaukee area, and that's if you want to make state in boys volleyball, it's just you have to go through a Milwaukee team at some point in time. So might as well face them in sectionals prior to state to see where we're at.
Well, thanks so much for the information. That's Coach Ben White. That's your Middleton Cardinal Report. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of our sports newsmakers for joining us today and providing the highlights and details of their season. And a very special thank you to the Red Zone Sports Bar in downtown Madison for supporting local athletics. For sports, music, and the best pub grub in town, visit the Red Zone. Thanks to all of you for joining us for the Sports News. I'm Jessa Jeremiah. Please join us next time.